right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks for sticking around for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Chris Mueller in a matter of moments, and there he is right there in his nice fan sweatshirt. Justinson Garcia. I've been practicing that for about 2 hours now. The Pirates made a trade tonight. I think it's a favorable trade for the Pirates. He's the 85th ranked prospect in baseball. His nickname is the Password. That's probably what I'll be calling him, the Password, because that first name is just going to be tough to pronounce if you're talking fast. Justinson Garcia is his name. He can hit home runs. He's a pretty good hitter, but also has a high strikeout rate. And they got rid of a back-end starter, Johan Oviedo. I like those were the centerpieces of the trade. These are the type of trades I think they need to make, and I think they got it right with this one.
Well, I think that if they had gotten a guy like this, even for a Mitch Keller, now granted, it's a trade that would have been panned initially by Pirates fans for saying, oh, you're getting somebody who's basically a prospect for an established starter. People still would have looked at the pedigree if it had been for even a different Pirates pitcher, Richie, and been like, all right, that's interesting. He's got real actual power. He could be a plus speed, plus defensive guy in the outfield, too. They have very few of those. The fact that they got him for Johan Oviedo, who I think profiled as maybe even like their sixth starter, like an odd man out necessarily in that rotation, makes me think that it's overall like a reasonably solid trade. And, of course, you and I and everybody else can only grade these things in principle, but the guy's still pretty young. I think there are obvious tools there that you hope to build on. The question then becomes, does this franchise have any clue how to actually take a toolsy player like that and turn him into a good baseball player, Rich?
That's a great question.
Because we know that they have had some difficulty with that in the past across multiple general managerial regimes.
No doubt about it, but I like it even more because it's not a high-ranking Pirates prospect. It's from someone like the Red Sox organization, and that's kind of why I like it. I trust them and their scouts a lot more than the Pirates.
I mean, to a degree, he's now, according to MLB.com, he's the Pirates' sixth-ranked prospect, and he was the Red Sox third. So the Pirates system is viewed, at least at the top, as being clearly more talented and deeper than the Red Sox. But he's just somebody who has potential real power in the bat, and you've watched this team even longer than I have, Rich, and they have just struggled immensely to find young power hitters. And when they find a guy who might have potential, like Jack Sawinski, they find a way to ruin him for the most part. So the hope here would be that the Pirates got a player who has probably the most valuable commodity in the modern version of offensive baseball, which is the ability to hit the ball over the fence, and that they can bring it out of him to the best of his ability. I mean, that last part, though, is the major piece of it because we just know it has been such a massive struggle on that front.
Before we get to the Steelers, one more question about the Pirates. There's been some names out there that the Pirates are trying to go after, bats that, guys that have been hitters before with other teams. But are you buying into this, that they're really trying to make an effort to go out and get a bigger name bat? Or do you think they're just saying, hey, we tried, remember, we went out there and this is who we wanted, but, we couldn't do it?
So I was inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt because the reporting on it in the first place about Josh Naylor was from Jeff Passan, and Jeff Passan has been highly critical of the Pirates almost any time he's had the chance to be. So I did not feel like this was going to be one of those situations, Rich, where a national insider maybe had a chummy relationship with somebody in the Pirates front office and did them a favor by putting it out there from a PR standpoint that they were after somebody. So I thought it was legit. Then you find out, though, that were they really in on Josh Naylor? No, because Josh Naylor never really let himself be seriously approached by other teams. So that report becomes more of a, they were prepared to give him this much, but he never really wanted to see what was out there. So that lessens it a little bit, and I think I speak for most people out there who are watching or listening tonight when I say actions speak louder than words for the Pirates, and talk is very cheap until you start actually making moves that legitimately upgrade your major league roster. And until people see that, I think they have every right to be skeptical of this front office.
And this is the kind of trades and the kind of things we have to be excited about, a high-end Red Sox prospect. It's not a big name free agent, unfortunately. This is what Pirates fans have to endure basically right now. All right, make sure you scan that QR code on the right-hand corner of your screen for a Penn West University question of the night. How do you feel about the Pirates trade? Great trade, bad trade, indifferent? It seems like I think people are just skeptical of the Pirates altogether, and that's why it's 48% bad trade. I think it's actually a good trade. Like you said, Oviedo might not even have been in the starting rotation. He'd be a sixth guy, maybe a middle reliever type guy, and you're taking a chance on a guy that potentially could be a pretty big bat, maybe a middle of the lineup type guy. This is our sleeper Pirates tweet here, Xfinity tweet of the night. Jostinson Garcia, better known as the password, was very good between AA and AAA in 2025. Look at that. 434 at-bats, 267 average, 810 OPS, 21 home runs, 75 RBI. He's 23 years old. That's the good thing. All right. Chris, we're going to hit the phone lines in a little bit here. We're going to talk about the Steelers, who you might see a couple different wide receivers in the lineup this week. Maybe Adam Thielen, if he can get situated, if he can get up to speed, potentially MVS. Does it help this struggling offense?
Probably not, because Adam Thielen is going to retire after this season, and if MVS couldn't get on the field by now, is he like running in molasses? I mean, as a speed downfield guy, I mean, what are we doing here? The receiver, I'm serious. I hate to sound cynical, but it's just more baseball card collecting in both cases, especially Thielen's. He was, a Pro Bowler in 2018. Wonderful. He had a good year 2 years ago as like a pure possession receiver. In fact, I don't even say I hope Steelers fans aren't like expecting something significant here. I know they're not, because I know most people see this and sort of roll their eyes at this point. You know who's the receiver that they need to see actually do something? DK Metcalf. And while I am inclined to give him some grace because the system and the lack of receiving threats around him makes it pretty tough for him to do his thing, he is getting paid more money this year than all but two wide receivers in the entire NFL. And so it is incumbent on him to make a couple of plays. Like, just because you don't have a good infrastructure around you doesn't mean you're not allowed to go out and just be better than the guy across from you and make something happen. He's certainly getting compensated like the Steelers think he's capable of that. Yeah, he drops a lot of balls, and I don't think he's the best at contested catches either, which, I'm scratching my head over. Because, just the eye test is telling me that, maybe George Pickens was better in a lot of aspects. Now, I understand George Pickens didn't fit in that locker room. I'm just trying to compare the two right now. Well, George Pickens is a better receiver than DK Metcalf. I think DK Metcalf is like a fringy number one wide receiver. Jackson Smith and Jigba was obviously better than him. That's why the Seahawks were willing to make a trade, by the way, that netted a pretty useful defensive player for them with the pick that they got from the Steelers. So I just look at Metcalf as a guy who probably in a perfect world is like a T. Higgins level number two. The Steelers need him to be a number one. And he does not have some of the skills that would allow him, I think, to rise above what is right now a very mediocre conceptual offense and mediocre quarterback play. Like, occasionally Pickens would just make his quarterbacks look good by making an obscene catch or just beating his man one-on-one. Metcalf's more of a catch-and-run guy, and they just do not have an offense that is really geared for catch-and-run plays. And I think that's the fault of a lot of people here. But he is still allowed to be better, and as you led with, he's allowed to not drop the ball when they do throw it to him. Let's go out to Dave in the north side. How you doing, Dave?
Yeah, I think it's time to get rid of Tomlin. He's been around for 20 years. I don't want to see him be another Chuck Noll. It's sad. I believe it. Don't get me wrong. Tomlin is a good coach. I think it's time for him to go, because next year we're going to start rebuilding next year.
All right, Chris, maybe the realistic question here is, at what point do you think Tomlin leaves, whether he leaves on his own or gets fired? It's not going to be this year, and I doubt it's going to be next year. I think it would be after next season, potentially, they could part ways.
I think if this season goes poorly enough down the stretch and he feels disillusioned enough about what's going on around him and they don't like the direction it's headed, say they finish 7-10, which would be 4-1 to 7-10, which is a 3-9 finish, and it just looks really bad. What's to say he wouldn't consider walking away? I know that they'll never fire him. It'll be a mutual parting of ways. They'll have some sort of very friendly, amenable-looking way to describe it, because I think that matters to them, to Art Rooney certainly. But if it really goes bad this year, Rich, I don't know why we would discount out of hand that he would just say, you know what, maybe it's time for a fresh start for everybody involved. The draft's going to be here. There would be, and like nationally, people will not get this because the national media likes to patronize Pittsburghers and make us think that we're like, gaslight us into thinking that we're the ones who are wrong about Tomlin. You don't think that there would be a ton of excitement in town if there was a new hotshot head coach here, either an offensive guy or a big name who brought in big name coordinators in advance of the draft? There absolutely would be a ton of people excited if that was the case.
You know, I would hate if nothing happens and they do, you know, go on a slide here at the end of the season, the draft's here, and you hear fire Tomlin chants, because you know it's going to happen. It's already happened at the last game, and it's going to continue if they keep losing. And who's to say it's not going to stop at the draft, right?
I think Art Rooney, we know that he was very passionate about getting the game in Dublin, and they played one of their better games for the most part of the year out there. We know that Art, you know, for him, getting the draft here has been an enormous item. I would imagine he would be a mixture of very embarrassed and very, very angry if they finish like 6-11 or 7-10. Mike Tomlin, there are a chance at the draft, audible, to fire him, and that's all happening in Pittsburgh. Like, I really think that would be an egg on the face situation that they would be desperate to avoid.
Let's go out to Duggar in Homewood. How you doing, Duggar?
I totally disagree with you. Adam Thielen's so good, and he kicks butt.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that.
From the mouth of babes.
Yeah.
Over-under on Duggar's age. Is he 12 and a half or over-under? I'm saying under. I'm saying he's 12 and he's in 6th grade, and he won't let his classmates stop hearing about Adam Thielen. That's my take, Rich.
Adam Thielen had 2 receptions for 11 yards against the Steelers in that Ireland game. One of his better games of the year, by the way. Let's go out to Michael in Beaver Falls. How you doing, Michael?
Well, good evening, Richie and Chris. I have a great idea. The Steelers need to change the whole enchilada. By that, I mean do some trick plays. I believe we're going to win by 10 points as long as they throw to the wide receivers that will catch the ball, and the tight ends do some trick plays, keep the Ravens off their heels, and I believe we got to win. Oh, don't forget special teams. We're going to have a lot of splash plays. We will surprise the football world.
All right. Well, thanks, Michael. You got to throw at the wide receivers that can catch. And look, I'm in the majority here. Why aren't they using Pat Freiermuth?
I don't know. Arthur Smith gave a typical word salad answer today when he was asked point blank about usage. Freiermuth, I think, is the guy Aaron Rodgers wants out there more, because Rodgers all but said as much and said it's above his pay grade why Freiermuth's not out there more. I think obviously Rodgers is not a huge fan of Jonnu Smith. Like, there's no chemistry there. I don't mean he doesn't like him, but from a football standpoint, those guys have been oil and water as far as making connections. So I don't know. I mean, I'll go back to this. I know it's easy when Mike Tomlin's here and he's the focus of so much fan anger to overlook other coaches, but I thought Arthur Smith was like a bog standard, completely average, very uninspiring, like not terrible but not great by any stretch hire when he was brought on here. And other than the advent of the jumbo package allowing them to run it reasonably effectively on a decent amount of their carries and snaps, he has done nothing to move me off my spot of thinking he is just about as average and as uninventive as it gets as an offensive coordinator.
You know, we have been saying it, fans have been saying it, that, you know, a number 2 receiver was a priority. The Steelers didn't think so much, and look at where they are right now. Let's go out to Fred in North Huntington. How you doing, Fred?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I'm going to read this list to you guys real quick, and then I want to hear your comments. 2018, Terrell Edmonds. 19, Devin Bush. 20, Chase Claypool. 21, Najee Harris. 22, Kenny Pickett. The 5 number 1 draft picks, not one of them is even on the team. Now, 23, Broderick Jones. Doesn't look that good. 24, Fontana, I guess he remains to be seen. That has, in a 7-year period, Chris Mueller, that has to be the worst number 1 draft picks I've seen out of NFL, any NFL team.
Well, Claypool was a second-round draft pick. If you remember, they didn't have a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, but he means the first pick that they actually made in the draft.
Yeah, but he was a second-round draft pick. He had the talent. He just didn't have the attitude. I'm not defending him.
Well, that doesn't really that really doesn't change the point, though, and this is point in fact. Kevin Colbert did a whale of a job for the majority of his Steelers career, and the last 5 drafts he had at the top of the draft, he did not do a good job, and they did not do a good job. I mean, he's the GM, so I think it should go on his record before anyone else's. Edmonds is there. You pick Lamar Jackson's there. You could get bold, even if it rankles Ben Roethlisberger, and pick your next quarterback and go big. They pick a third-round graded safety. We all know, what he said, what he read into the record there is true, and it has hamstrung them for years.
Yeah, they didn't hit on high-end draft picks, and those are supposed to be home runs. And that's why they're in this situation right now. A couple tweets here. Bell and Brody, how about a shout-out for the Pens' big win? They won 4-3. Tremendous finish to that game. A hand pass, an illegal hand pass, got the Penguins a win, but they did blow a 3-0 lead. But they end up going to win the 4-3. So, and also, Ryan Zedek just tweeted us, isn't this the time the Pirates should be signing impactful players for next season?
Yes.
I agree with that one, too.
Yes. They should be making big moves, and they really still aren't. I mean, Justinson Garcia, I think, is more of a positive thumbs-up trade, and I'm hopeful about it. But, yeah, I agree completely with the substance of that tweet.
I also saw some things that are trending here for people in Pittsburgh, that Kyler Fedko, maybe they should go after him in the Rule 5 draft. He was hitting the cover off the ball for Minnesota's minor leagues. Former John Fedko's son.
I know who he is. I'm just saying, let's throw the kitchen sink at it, Rich. Whoever you want, put them all on the team.
No question about it. All right, Chris, I appreciate it. Thanks for the time. See you next week. And if you want to get your opinion heard, don't forget to tune in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call tonight at 10:35 on KDKA+. So give us a call at 412-575-2600. We do it every night after the 10 o'clock news. For CBS News Pittsburgh, I'm Rich Walsh.